exploring this one as much as they possibly can, because as we have said continuously at this point, their intentions are very clear at this point. And on the other hand, though, Priora has actually taken the attack helicopter down, and hence that fight shall commence if any other part is interested in those crates later down the line as well.
Yeah, that's a huge shot to take down for that helicopter. Obviously, Prora being in that fourth place position, if they can secure those crates, that would be pretty huge for them. But I mean, Capybara kind of just camping at the moment, spending some of their resources over here. Obviously, just waiting for these 6 minutes to expire so they can just grab pretty much a free TC. It seems at this point.
Okay, we're just gonna move over towards someone else, because as soon as the attack phase begins, that's I think more of the action that we're gonna witness on or towards this area. Now moving on to the debris of the attack helicopter, and okay, wait, is that the attack helicopter? No, okay, no, that's not the attack helicopter, but Deposit and Liga, they're gonna be in a very open fight for this one, and it's right in the middle of the map, so a lot of other teams could potentially push this one later down the line as well. So they have to ensure that they get those trades as soon as possible. Liga, they're trying to push this one in, but Deposit, they have to close their angles, but they have the high shottage to work against them as well. Their shots are connecting, but the damage is just not enough yet, as Finland has made his way closer to the helicopter.
He is going to try and grab those crates. Like you said, a very, very open fight here. A lot of teams might come to rotate towards it. But while Capybara, I'd like to mention, we've been talking about how they are kind of camping that one TC, getting ready. Balding has kind of jumped up ahead of them now, up to this first place spot, tying them in points. So while Capybara has been kind of slacking on the kills, another team kind of taking advantage of it.
Yeah, but I mean, in the longer run, it does sort of favor them, I guess you could say, because as soon as the raid phase begins, if they manage to get that DC, they're right back on the number one spot. So, a smarter play for a better later half of the games. And Deposit, though, uh, they're not letting this one go. Ed Tripler going to take Apsy down, but there's still one player of Lika lurking around. He's Ed Tripler. He's just waiting for. Oh, there's a couple. Okay, at Triple though, he's just waiting for the crates to go down, and oh, those players of Deposit, they might not even be expecting anyone to push them from behind, and that could be a very smart move for Lika to eventually get hold of those crates.
Yeah, it could be really smart flank. Shad is going to try and come up and get these two players of Deposit out, but we'll have to see how it goes. Obviously, he doesn't have a lot of reinforcements right now other than those other two members that are a little bit distance away, but he's going to try and come up, and the other player Deposit will actually fall in the firefight near the helicopter. So still both of these teams just fighting really, really hard. Neither want to give it up. 3 minutes left in our attack phase. So the Deposit team still kind of holding this high ground for now, but again, this flank player coming to try and extinguish this high ground from them.
This fight has gotten very dark, quite literally as well, but it has dragged on for quite a while. But as you mentioned, only 3 minutes to go before the attack phase begins, and after that, attack helicopters won't matter as much, so they have to get done with this. Actually, never mind. I do not think there are any more crates remaining there. So, Deposit, they're actually on the third spot with 50 points. So I believe they are the ones that have managed to secure all of those crates in Liga. They did have a valiant effort to get a hold of them, but sadly they did fail. And Ed Roper was the one that took it away with him. But as the clock ticks down, eventually the fights for the TCs will begin. And right now, moving on to Kimitsa and alongside Deposit here. Kimitsu, I think they're just looking around to potentially get some kills. No one's close by onto Deposits.
So I'd like to mention that Deposit, they kind of went for that crate, obviously, and I don't know if this is their base, but whatever base this is, it doesn't seem like it's completely finished. Kind of seems like it's kind of a half base, has a lot of openings up top, but we'll see what they can do with it.
Oh, Eclipse just stuck in there. He needs a ladder dropped to him. Oh. don't worry. Oh, so it could potentially just be a totally free DC. Well, of course, it's not 100% free because Kimetsu actually are lurking around and they're interested in taking this one off of Deposit as well. But Deposit are the ones that have a huge presence within already, and Gazoo's trying to become a third party involved into the fight, but they only have one player present. They might call for some backup later down the line, but right now, it seems like they're an insignificant party in this fight.
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of teams here that kind of notice that this team isn't here, so they want to take advantage of those free points. Deposit looking for a really early TC along with our other team of Capybara who are holding down that other one. We'll have to see, obviously 40 seconds remaining, and then actual raids will start to begin. The attack phase has gone Balding in first place, and Capybara holding in second, but it's exactly like you said earlier that they have made the smarter decision to put points up for the long run. I believe they will still be over trying to take that base, but just holding down theirs for now.
Oh wait, the Capybara, they have absolutely no presence whatsoever in Rappa's base right now. I do not see anyone from that team, so believe they have been pushed out, or either they have been forced by GCC to focus on their base themselves because they might have put some pressure onto it. Hence, okay, as soon as the raid phase begins, we see Balding and GG get just immediately eliminated, and hence two TCs already taken care of. Balding was the team that had taken over Capybara on the #1 spot, now managing to get the first TC as well, hence putting them in a very fancy lead with 132 points. We were expecting Capybara to be the ones that took an early TC, but Balding, they played a trump card.
Yeah, they get to take a TC, and I mean, we were talking about how really those TCs matter, and if you're just playing for kills in that attack phase instead of setting up a plan, it's gonna hurt you in the long run. But Balding, maybe they just hurt us through some some crazy coincidence, and they take advantage of that and they take their first TC, so they'll be holding down over 40-point lead right now in that first place spot.
Maybe we're psychics and we don't know it. It could be, but until we figure out our parts, we're just gonna continue to pass over this because that's what we do. And well, Kimetsu alongside Deposit. The Deposit, I believe, have already taken the TC, but still, Kimetsu, they're not letting Deposit get out of here for nothing. They're trying to get as many PvP points as they potentially can, but I'm not sure if I'm a fan of it. Just have a couple of players lying around to like distract Deposit at least for a while, and hence let the others look around for other TCs right now. It seems like they have most of their players invested into this fight against Deposit, and okay, never mind. Lawrence and Gazoos are here actually as well, so hence there might be a potential to get a lot of PvP points, but I just don't think it's worth it to let some time off the raid phase.
Yeah, time is going to be pretty important here for these teams. Obviously, they will have an hour and a half for this raiding phase, and once it's over, it is over. But you gotta be careful and defend your own base. And talking about defending fire ants right now, holding down the top of this roof peak. Looks like DSAS dads are trying to put down some rockets, try and open up that base, maybe see if they can find a hole. As a helicopter will be flying in the distance.
Well, the helicopter is just going by, relaxing, almost destroyed as well, while the base of fire ants is getting put on fire actually with those water monsters by the SAS dads. Who are just pushing this all out from one front. They have already dealt quite a good amount of damage, and behind those walls, they're making progress, getting closer and closer. Oh my god, that's some big amount of damage.
Yeah, a little hole in the base, you know. It's good from Sastad. They are putting down a lot of those rockets, but we also have HP abusers over here. So two teams on the side of fire ants, and on different sides, it's not the greatest. So they're going to have to try to mount this defense, but a lot of those players were dying on that roof. So we'll see if they can get it. But it looks like SAS dads are trying to push on into the base here, and Rappa, we expected it. Capybara will take them out.
Well, they have already their base quite a lot. Hence, it was inevitable before. It was inevitable that Capybara was going to take their TC. They did take a little while, but they did get their job done. Balding, though, still up with an 11 rounds lead. And HE abusers, though, they're trying to abuse the entry points given to them by the SAS dads, while Fire Ants, they're getting in a desperate spot here as they have to defend against two whole squads, pushing them with a whole total assault.
Yeah, it is not looking good for Fire Ants. It's, I mean, two teams is hard to, one team is hard enough to defend. I mean, talking about two, it's up to 10 players that are just going ham on your base. So we'll see what they can do. They have a lot of these doors, so it will be a guessing game for these squads that are kind of raiding in, but we will see if one of these teams can find it. And obviously, that it might help them out a little bit that if these two teams kind of are finding each other inside the base, they can fight, maybe give a little bit of time to Fire Ants to repair.
Yeah, it could buy them a bit of time, but it will cause their inevitable destruction because as they fight, they will continue to demolish the walls, they will continue to explore more and more of the base. So, Fire Ants, they have to ensure that while they're taking advantage of those fights, those two teams fighting each other, they have to force them out of their base as well. And for the time being, they aren't doing such a great job of it because they are the ones that are losing more lives than anyone else in this fight right now. So they're taking this one slow, and it's not looking too great for them. But they're closing the doors on their way out, just ensuring that it's as hard as it possibly can get. On the other hand, Les Gidet has been eliminated by subs as well, who have made their way to the fourth spot now
Yeah.
and becoming the fourth team in this tournament to get a TC on their name.
Yeah, that's very good from subs, like you said, getting themselves up into the fourth position. And Capybara and Balding, both of those teams that also got themselves a TC pretty early on. So kind of firmly holding down that 1 and 2 position. But Deposit also, like you were saying, those top 4 teams all did get a TC. And adding the, I mean, it's a 40-point spread between them and the next team. So it is a TC difference. So those teams doing really good jobs to kind of prepare in that attack phase. They're going to attack when they're going to attack. And speaking of attack, Fire Ants are still getting attacked here as both these teams try to find a TC.
Have to move on from that fight as there are quite a few fights going on across the map right now. Moving on to Capybara, a little going up against the GCC here. Well, earlier I mentioned GCC being the ones that were pressurizing Capybara. Now they're returning the favor to them. Already a lot of presence within the base of GCC and the constant kills going the way of Capybara. Hence, this looks like it might just be another TC with how fast they're getting those kills and how fast they're making that progress with those rocket launchers.
Yeah, exactly. Capybara kind of pushing back onto this squad now and really just putting down work onto all of these doors, trying to just find that TC. And the players of GCC, really nothing they can do about it right now. Capybara really good at those close range encounters, getting those kills, and they're just running as a squad at the moment and just shooting rockets and putting all of this boom down just to try and find this TC.
Well, exactly as we both mentioned, it seems like there's nothing that they can do for the time being. There's no equivalent resistance to Capybara, at least for the time being. I wonder what will happen if Capybara and Balding go head to head because both of them have seemed great at PvP and now they're just, oh my god. I thought for a second that they were just going to humiliate the body, but okay, they're trying to explore the floors a bit further. No TC just yet, but it seems like it is the inevitable end of GCC and hence probably a #1 spot for Capybara as well, unless Balding they're onto something that we are for the moment unaware of.
Yeah, it would be an interesting fight, and I mean, we kind of see as the rating phase, you know, dips down to its end, we kind of see some of those teams that are higher up on the leaderboard have a bigger target on your back. So if Balding and Capybara go down to the end together, I mean, it could be one of their top targets is each other, because then you take out one of those other teams that has a lot of points, and one of those other teams that, like we talked about, is pretty decent at.
Or it could just be a bunch of other teams trying to eliminate their biggest opponent and hence get a possible spot into the top 10 as well. But Yes, it is definitely correct that you put a massive target behind your back if
Mm.
you're in the top three. So Balding and Capybara, they have to ensure that they have someone present. And there we go! GCC finally eliminated by Capybara, and with that, Capybara have actually cleared out the area around their base as well, and hence they should be a bit more safer because they wouldn't have any immediate backup arriving again and again that could pressurize them if their base gets raided because they've cleared out both the bases that were living around them.
Yeah, that is absolutely massive for Capybara. Like you're saying, they now no longer have to worry about threats directly next to them. They can kind of send their troops out to further distances and not have to worry as much as those close teams kind of engage. So very, very well done. And two TCs from them really early on will get them a little bit of a lead here. But switching over to Choppa, who's going to be shooting some teams down on the outside. The Best and Silk Road both going to be here. And Silk Road at the front gates, but no real entrance yet.
Yeah, the best is the other team that we talked about earlier on about being a
Mm.
bit more consistent in the EU region alongside Capybara. But for the time being, the best, they're invisible in the top 10. They definitely need a DC soon, and they definitely need to have a lot more impact on the map because the number one lead, it's just massive. If you're already not in the top 10, then in order to get into the top three, you're going to have to work your way quite a bit. They're sitting at 32. So even if they want to get into top three immediately, they have to get about 76 points still. And so they're far behind right now, and I expect better from them.
Yeah, we expect a little bit more from them. Could have just had a little bit of a slow attack phase. They might be able to pick it up, and their Deposit. So Deposit will take out another team here. Rusikin, it looks like, will fall. So that will be their second TC of the day, and they will actually jump themselves up to put themselves in that contention for the race for first place, putting them in second right now with 149 right now. But as we're talking about that, I mean, Rockets coming down on this base of Choppa, a little bit of a hole blown through, not the biggest damage yet, but Rockets are launching.
Well, deposit. Oh, okay. Fire ants finally have been eliminated by the Hasdads. We're getting pressurized from Kametsu as well, I believe, or there was another spot. I have actually it was 8 real users who have actually made their way just into the top 10 as well with 44 points just from TP. But I have to mention about one thing about Deposit that they have been making constant moves in the past few minutes. They were the team that got the last attack helicopter as well. They got the first TC or the second one, but it was at the same time as soon as the raid phase began. And now they have managed to secure their second as well.
I mean, making moves is kind of what you have to do, as they will jump themselves kind of up into that second place position. They will have, you know, two of those TCs that they did take, and I mean, they also get that attack helicopter like you are mentioning, and have to see if they can keep up the action here. We'll be switching on over to Pancake, a pretty nice base here. Looking around, no real pressure on them just yet. Also, don't see them really in this top 10, so maybe they need to be start to be making moves elsewhere, like we talked about. If you're not in this top 10 now, you should probably start making moves. Obviously, an hour and 15 left. It's a lot of time, but it will go by quickly. And Capybara already at 175 points, so not too shabby at all. We'll
Well,
switch.
there this time around, we're going back to Choppa, who were fighting off against the best and Silk Road. Now, Nurek are actually getting involved into this fight as well, but the best they have three players waiting for the players of Nurek. I guess they did realize that there was some players fighting towards their attacking their base as well, but they're still letting two of their players lurk around trying to get PvP points and make some progress over towards Chopper's base, so that could have a huge impact later down the line as soon as they get rid of Nurek.
Yeah, exactly. And Rick is in a little bit of a danger, and we'll see. Yeah, Choppa is kind of sending those players out. Like, they were taking a lot of fire earlier, and both of those players are actually going to fall. So only one of those players being able to still be rezzed. We'll see if they can get that off. But right now, just kind of a hole inside of this base up here. Rockets definitely rain down. We'll see if they can get those repairs off.
Well, only time will tell, but I do not believe they will have enough of it in order to do that, because Super, they're still around Lika making their way towards the space as well. So there are about 4 teams lurking around the space. Not all of them are focused on it, but if they all decide to divert their attention to it, it is going to be a massacre. And Chopa, I don't think they will survive for long. But for the time being, though, no immediate pressurizing going on their base, so they're fine for the time being. Another helicopter passing just by though, but Nurik, all 5 of the players is trying to get aggressive over towards the best base.
Yeah, we will see that helicopter kind of trying to fly around, and it's exactly like you said. If all these teams kind of divert their attention to one base, it could be good for them to take it super quick. But I mean, if you do that, you're fighting a lot of other teams. So I think Nurik, instead of kind of focusing on that Choppa base, they decide, well, no one's looking at the best. Why don't we just start blowing a hole in it and trying to take it if they are distracted and sending members over to the other base.
Yeah, and I think that is a smart move, but that's a very advantageous move for Choppa as well, because that allows just a 1v1 between the 2 teams of Silk Road and Choppa. Hence, Silk Road, they have been forced to back out as well, and it seems like they're trying to fight around the best space as well. So now the best is in the same situation as Choppa. So Karma has started to bite them back with the face of Nurik and Silk Road.
Right, yeah. A lot of these teams just, I mean, they flock to the fight, and if there's no real entrance to the base, it's kind of hard because there's a lot of fighting on that outside. So the best actually gets one of the biggest advantages here, because they will just be holding that high ground, get those roof peaks off, and kind of clearing out all these members after they just fight each other.
Oh,
Just
that
one
was the
member
last
left.
of Nurik. The best though, they're still pushing this one out. Nurik's base is close by as well, so if they want to, they can push this one out straight up once again, but it seems they're just gonna hold this one out for a while, because the best, they were the ones that got out aggressive or to push Nurik back. And now Nurik, I think they're sensing some aggression coming towards their base as well, hence 4 of them are just sitting in, and Sensitivity will be the one that goes out alone in the open.
Yeah, they might have some pressure. Obviously, there are a lot of walls that run up to their base, so anyone can kind of put some pressure, but this one player is going to be sent out to try and deal with Bruh on the best, and we'll see. He's going to try and hop around the wall, maybe get a sneak up on him, but Best is going to back up just a little bit, try and get a better angle on this 1v1 fight, and aim in as they kind of have to go back and forth, and it looks like the best their player will fall, so the attack stops for now from them.
Well, things have calmed down for at least a little while over towards the best base. Now, Silkwood, okay, we're just revolving around the same teams at this point, and that way is following us, it seems, as Silk Road's base is being pushed from them right now. Silk Road, though, it seems like there hasn't been much damage done to their base except a few walls being blown off, but it seems like they've held off pretty well, at least for the time being. But from behind is coming the SAS Dads, who did manage to take out a TC earlier on, and it seems like they might be interested in Silk Roads, or are they heading somewhere?
Yeah, I think it's exactly like you're saying, that they kind of have weathered this storm, that they really have no real damage to their base other than those few walls that got destroyed there. And then on the outside of the base, obviously, they are killing those players, so a pretty good defense from them so far. But obviously, Silk Road not in the top 10 at the moment, so while they're defending their base, I mean, they need to start making moves over to other places. And speaking of making moves, Capybara looking to take another base here.
This base is not looking too strong, and already there's a hole in the wall, and the wall is just enough to put a few men through it right now. WR though, there's a van. Is he leaving?
Doesn't want
He's
anything to
just
do with it. He's out.
okay. That's one way. I guess he might just be trying to get long range fights, or he might be scared. He might. I'm not sure what the purpose is. Okay, he's going for long range fights. I can accept that, but he's still running. He has been tagged on quite a bit, so he needs to ensure that he stays alive to help his team in the later run. But Capra, they sure back at the end.
Oh no, the fan's running away from him. Gonna use it for cover, but
Oh,
he will get knocked down. So Capybara will start this kind of raid. They are inside the compound now. See if they can get up in. The ladders will provide access. And I mean, they, like you said, they have access to multiple floors here with just a couple of rockets. See if maybe they can find this TC early. And one of the players, FWR, does go down on the inside. So Capybara winning these close range battles like we talked about. And we'll see if they can find this TC.
all day. We haven't seen much action from them so far, but they better be up to something. Because Capybara, they definitely are not slowing down at all. They're already pretty close to securing their DC. They're far deep within the base already, and it seems like there isn't going to be any quick resistance from WR. Although they are trying to find the players of Capybara, but Boger alongside another player of Capybara have just kept them at bay, ensured that
Yeah.
they have to the WR have to deal with them first before heading down deep in the base.
Yeah, it's super smart. They're really splitting up their team really well. They're kind of putting some players. Yep, you'll focus on those kills that you need to get to make sure this team doesn't push back, and then those other players just putting down putting down everything they can. And you got to think at this point they're pretty close to that base. I see that one player of WR gonna try and run in, but he's gonna get just melted as he walks into his own base.
Well, as we said, it seems like there's nothing any team so far has been able to done when Capybara decides to raid them. Their PvP skills are just very impressive, and that sort of explains how they managed to get so far ahead in the attack phase alone. And is that the DC? I think they have the
Here it
DC.
is.
Well, Capybara, they were already in the #1 spot, and now they look to extend it as WR gets eliminated.
Yeah, I mean that was very well done. I mean, it seems like they are definitely picking really good targets. It looks like HV abusers will get here a little bit late, and Capybara is going to get some kills over on them. A couple of their members will still be alive, but like you said, they're playing it really well. They take this another TC to put them up to 232 points. So really picking their targets, really executing really well. We'll see if they can keep up this aggression.
And Velvet, on the other hand, it's subs Silk Road alongside that white going at it right now. I believe this should be the subs base. Oh, there's a fourth team Paki as well, but they don't have any minute aggression. There were a couple of pairs of subs that were like, trying to slowly close the gap behind those walls. It seems like they have their full attention to this one with 4 players pushing this in. Brett, ooh, that was a close gunfight that he manages to lose. They should be able to hold that one on at least for a little while. But that way, they have a lot of players already within the base.
Yeah, they have they're shooting some of those players out to try and get them out. And I think you talked about a little bit while we were on Capybara that Balding has kind of been stagnant for this period in the raiding phase. They had a pretty good burst in the early like 5 minutes, but it seems like they haven't really been doing anything else. So they maybe are defending or something of the sorts, but I would really like to see them kind of push forward. Same with Deposit. I mean, Deposit has also been, I mean, Deposit didn't have that luxury that Capybara had of having that many kill points from the attack phase, but see if any of these teams can really catch up to Capybara at this point.
Yeah, still an hour and 6 minutes on the clock of a
Mhm.
fairly good amount of time to catch up to them, but with the amount of raids that Capybara have already been successful at, it sure does look scary because if they keep on going with that success rate, Capybara might just
Yeah, firefight here in the base, and is going to be an absolute bloodbath as Priora going to take down a lot of those members of Santa, but Santa going to take some back, lots of bodies on the floor here as I think Santa is looking to take this base. This is theirs. Oh, there. Okay, so they're trying to push these members of Priora actually out of the base and try and hold them out. I mean, they need some points. They need something else because only sitting really at 81 right now. So sitting in 5th, but still need to kind of put some work down to get further into this rating phase.
now there are a lot of fights going on across the map, but this time around we're going to be focusing on Liga. It seems like their fight has calmed down a bit. No other presence. Yeah, so Liga, they've already dealt with whoever was going up against them, unless there was a player for around. I doubt that he's focusing on to Liga's base for the time being. Now back onto the best, Joppa and Nurik. This fight has been going on for ages. But still, the base has held on quite for a decent time, but now the rocket launchers start to rain in. Nurik, they're going on all-out offense against this one, while the best is busy taking care of the team from the other side.
Yeah, the best kind of trying to defend from 2 fronts here is, like you said, those rockets are going to be flying on in. You got to be careful. I mean, obviously this base already has a pretty big hole inside of it. And I mean, these teams can kind of hop up in, and if the best have to defend from 2 sides, could be the chance to take them out. We talked about them a little bit. They're sitting in 9th right now at 72 points. One of those teams that has been consistently, performing here, but kind of today, kind of a little bit lackluster.
Indeed, and well, one thing that I'm liking about Nurik here is that when the players of Chopa are trying to approach this one, they're taking long-range fights against them as well, sort of helping the best out at the same time, but they're isolating the fight against the best by themselves, hence ensuring that they are the team that make the most progress over towards the best's base.
Right. Yeah, they want to kind of push, kind of get that in. I mean, and you can put all the rockets down if you want, but in the end, it's going to be who gets that TC, who gets that points. And the best just trying to defend as much as they can, but like you said earlier, it's hard to defend with 2 teams on your side and just rockets raining down from everywhere.
Well, this fight has been going on for ages, and then I assume this is gonna go on for ages later down the line as well. But oh, CG getting eliminated by the SAS dads. This is going to be their second DC. They have remained somewhat insignificant with Balding going up against HV abusers. I'm not sure whose base this is, but whoever's it is, it's almost non-existent. It's like we're looking at a skull of the base at the moment.
Yeah, it's a little bit in shambles, and it is HV Abusers base. We saw their aggression all around the map, but their base kind of, like you said, not looking too good. A lot of openings all around. The TC could be soon, and for Balding, they need this. I mean, if they can get this, TC would help them out a lot, but the SAS Dads, like you mentioned, they will get their second TC. They didn't have a lot of those kills in that phase, but they will be bringing some points back, and HV users are actually going to get some nice kills, so even though their base isn't in the best of shape, they will get some kills to push that squad back.
Yeah, we did mention that Balding they had slowed down quite a bit. I guess it's showing up because they've really invested a lot of time into HV Builder's base, clearing it out. I'm still unable to find the TC, and HV Abusers, even though their base is demolished, I have to give props to them because Balding are still struggling to have a lot of presence within the base of HV Abusers.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting base, and I mean, although it may not look like the best of the base right now, it provides a lot of open area where HV abusers, usually you see kind of short corridors where kind of it's just a 1v1 isolated fight, but HV abusers can kind of touch their whole base at once because it is so open, and I mean, they can watch this open field as they try to attack them.
We're now to wait and see how this one goes. Because Balding, they have been sort of pushed back a little bit, and that could be bad news from them because Capybara, they did not slow down, and Balding, if they fail with this raid, that could be a major blow to them. Ooh, that sound was good. Not gonna.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you're saying. I mean, you can't really slow down. You still have an hour, so it is a lot of time to kind of work with. And a player will go down there. There's HV abusers actually really nice shots right now. They're gonna try and push to try and get rid of those balding spawns. And it looks like they actually came into the helicopter, so they try and put him down, and he'll get a trade. So not bad at all. And they need to try and do something about it now. Balding, I mean, gonna start winning these fights, and they'll lose 2 players there as they'll try and respawn and continue this raid.
Well, Balding still being kept at bay. HE abusers slowly their defense is trying to get better, so now they can possibly try to work on some repairs as well because those shots I don't know what suddenly happened. If they had been doing that earlier, their brace would not be looking that bad. But whatever it is, it's finally working for them. Balding, they only have one last player alive around the base with 19, but the respawn of course is coming in eventually. And hence
Yep.
the backup as well. They're refusing to give up on this one, and that's understandable because they've just invested too much utility and time into this space.
Yeah, they have invested so much. I mean, a lot of their rockets, a lot of everything. I mean, a lot of their time, which is their most valuable resource. And I mean, at what point do you just give up and say, okay, we have to regroup, we have to go do something else? Because, I mean, Capybara is 60 points ahead of you right now, and you are just straight up losing this fight. You can't run through that open field without them beaming you. But we'll have a couple teams here. Approaching on each other. As, we will see Silk Road and that white both inside, and also Capybara. So a lot of a party at this base.
Party indeed. Well, we've definitely given them credits for how successful they have been in every single one of their raids today. Now to wait and see how this one goes, especially when there's a third party involved in the fight as well, with Silk Road trying to force this one as well. Alongside that white still in the base trying to fight the rest of the players off. Nikita in a very awkward angle. Not even sure how you get there, but they are there and hence trying to get some kills, and Yo-Yo will be the first one to fall.
And I mean, Capybara, again, they're just so good at these close range combats. So they're taking the advantage, and they're actually going to have all, I believe, actually 4 of their players here now. So trying to push in, they're going to get on the roof here. Obviously, there are 2 teams here, but they are going to try and push in, and we see how efficient they can be, just kind of taking the roof to kind of push out some other teams that are pushing.
Well, now finally the C4 is being placed, and hence some gaps will start to show themselves as the players of every single team slowly fall, and now the raid shall get into deeper depths while the rest of the teams, while every single team actually start to make their way deeper into the base.
Yeah, a lot of these teams are here though, so I mean, whoever's pace this is, it
Oh,
is not
subs are here.
looking good. There are so many teams that, I mean, it just seems like a race to see who can find it first. It doesn't seem like this base will last at all. Capybara has blown a hole through the middle, but that white makes some kills onto them.
Yes, the players of subs is trying to surround the base as well, hence this fight will get even more difficult for the defenders to maintain. But they have cleared it out of most of Capybara's players. Of course, Nakata still being the nuisance from within. Always been the case with that player, but that fight, possibly unaware of that presence, but will are still lurking around to just clear it out as much as they possibly can.
Yeah, they're trying to clear it out, and these teams decide, obviously, if you see someone else, you're gonna fight for it. And I mean, subs, they're on the outside. They're going to be running in, but Capybara was already in. We'll see if they can continue up that raid. Obviously, I mean, this could extend their lead so much. We talked about that failed raid of Balding that kind of got pushed off. So if Capybara can get another one here, that would extend their lead so far.
Yeah, they'll be far closer. They'll be far closer to 300. And with this again, I'm going to mention the success rate of their bases. This could be their first failure, but if it isn't, they would have gotten 4 DCs in quick succession in just a matter of about 40 minutes, and that's very impressive. That's 1 PC per 10 minutes of the game.
That's pretty crazy. I mean, they're gonna lose some of these players on the top of the roof, as that white is actually they'll get some defense, but I mean, 2-3 teams fully pushing you, it is very hard to defend. It looks like one of those players with Capybara is kind of out in the out in the field. As we see another team, I believe it's Pancake, that is also coming in. So these teams just really hearing this firefight and want to join in, maybe for the chance of getting a TC. But Capybara back already inside the compound. That one player gonna just be looking for anything he can here.
Oh, there's Capybara slowly starting to make their way back into the base, but this time around, subs have actually been cleared out. We have to give props to that white this time around. They have completely cleared the base, at least for the time being, but Capybara slowly making their way in, as I just mentioned, but subs, they're sticking around. Pancake showing some interest as well, as they're taking the initial kills. They're taking the initial fights against Silk Road and subs. Okay, so basically, in the premises of this base of that white, there are 4 teams fighting. As soon as they all start to hit the base, it is going to shatter into pieces in just a matter of a minute.
Yeah, it's not gonna look good. I mean, one team is hard enough to defend. I mean, 4 teams is just pretty much impossible. They do have a little bit of an advantage that a lot of these teams aren't inside the compound. So Subs and Silk Road and I believe Pancake were outside fighting. So that just leaves Capybara to be inside, and that really benefits them. So chance for Capybara to again take a greater lead, as Balding has kind of just slowed down. I mean, they've been at 182 for a while.
Subs though starting to struggle to hold their ground as Mango falls as well in Silk Road. They've gotten all of the progress. Though subs, they are pretty close by, but Capybara, as you mentioned, the only team that are attacking that white from within. That they're the major threat to that white, while Silk Road and subs continue to fight on the outskirts. But eventually, though, I can see Mango running towards the base. They're trying to ensure that they have as much attention given to the base of that white as they possibly can. Hence, Skepera doesn't have easy access to the PC and only have to deal with that white.
Yeah, they want to try and send some players in, but I did see one of those players of Capybara kind of on the outskirts of this base, kind of playing an off angle, trying to just take out any players he can, trying to be a nuisance and try and slow down any push from any of the other teams that want to engage on this. But Capybara is going to be the first team in there, other than the one member that is Mango, that's going to try and stop their push. But again, they're just going to look for this TC, see if they can actually find anything here, because they're the first one to have access, and they're just going to throw some C4 and some other stuff down.
Well, that white still managing to hold on somehow. They're probably the team that has lasted the longer against Capybara, so I guess that's an impressive achievement, but they might just even have a chance to hold Capybara off, at least for the time being. They are doing so. But the Silk Road, Pancake, subs still fighting on the outskirts. It seems like they're still in the attack phase for some reason. again, someone needs to give them the realization that DCs matter more here, because Capybara, if they continue to go on like this, they will eventually get their hands on the DC and hence hit the 300 mark before anyone else has even hit the 200.
Exactly. They should please start to get on it, and it's exactly what you're saying, that Deposit and Balding both kind of sitting in that second and third place respectively. And there you go. That white is eliminated. The TC is found. And Capybara going to just extend their lead that much further. Wow.
Well, looking at the point board, most of the of the last 10 have been eliminated, Silk Road being the only exception, and they're still fighting to get their first DC. Uh, well, I mean, you can't really give them too much doubt as well, because they're stuck in a sandwich between Pancake and Subs. They tried the one DC that they're trying to really get into is that one, but Capybara, they probably are going to be the one that managed to get the DC secured before them.
Yeah, they did a really good job, and honestly, if you're Capybara at this point, you have to be careful. There is going to be, we talked about, a giant target on your back. If one of those other teams takes you out, I mean, you're 120 points ahead right now, and that's, I mean, that's just absolutely massive. So if one of those teams decides to just raid you and a couple others join along, make sure you are ready to defend. But there you go, Kometsu will be eliminated by Deposit, adding another DC to their counter.
Well, Deposit, they become the second team to reach the 200 point mark, and Capybara the 300 mark achieved as well. So their success continues to grow. In Deposit, they did slow down at least for the past 15 minutes, but they're right back on the board, leaving Balding behind with 183 points. Subs, though, I'm not sure how they've. I haven't really kept up with them, but they have a pretty impressive 151 points as well. I'm not sure if most of them came from PvP, but as far as I'm aware, I think they only got one DC, so the score is pretty impressive if you take that into consideration. But they are definitely going to be looking for more the same as Priora and who are going up against Malika alongside Santa.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of these teams want to find that aggression, and it is very impressive that a lot of these players get a lot of those kill points. And there you go, Subs. We were just talking about them. Will eliminate Oxid here, so we'll add some points to their total. We'll actually bring them up into that third place positioning. Still a little bit away from Capybara, but closing in the spot to the second place position on Deposit. And I mean, if we're talking about teams that are left, I mean, the numbers are dwindling, so the number of people you can raid are dwindling.
Well, 48 minutes on the clock remaining. We're in the mid game now, getting closer to the end game as well. But there's still a fair bit of time, Capybara. Now is probably the time that they started to get focused on by the majority of the teams. Because their lead has gone to such an extent that it's going to be hard for people to just catch up to them just on the force of TCs. Because we saw Balding and Deposit, they take a lot longer compared to Capybara in order to get hold of the TCs. So I think this is now where you start to think in the back of your head, do we hit Capybara's base in order to ensure that we can still make it as the number one team?
Yeah, I think you have to start thinking that thought, because I mean, if you're one of these teams, if you're 120 points behind, that's 3 other successful base ratings that you have to get off. Or you can just, you know, go raid Capybara, and that would be 1 base raid that you have to get off successfully. But we've also talked about how good they are in that PvP. Their base is going to be hard to raid, but it may be the only option for some of these teams as time starts to tick down. Like you said, only about half the time raiding in this raid phase.
Well, uh, Choppa, they have been alive for such a long time. They were the ones that were pressurized earlier on, along with by the best and Silk Road, but they managed to stay alive. The best and Choppa still going at it though, while Nirik tries to focus on the base of the best, although it hasn't been
Yeah, but a little bit of pressure will be put down on this base here, as we will see if they can get inside. But a lot of the teams are running out of time. About 45 minutes going to be left on the clock for them. We'll see if anybody can even try and catch up to Capybara. I mean, Deposit being the closest right now, 100 away. Stubbs 120 away, and Balding, they just seem like they have kind of been slowed down to a halt. We've seen them kind of at that 182, 183 mark for a while. So we'll see if they can actually, pick it back up, try and catch back up, because they were right with Capybara for a minute there, and then they kind of just, fell off.
Balding definitely fell off massively with subs and deposit, both of them hitting the 200 point mark before them and surpassing them in the scoreboard. Balding, you have to make your move immediately, because if you keep on going like this, it's only going to get better. I'm not sure if they're still trying to work on HP abusers base, but if they are, it's been like 30, 40 minutes. Just leave it for once and try to look for a better base to raid, because if it's taking you this long, you might be able to get it eventually, but it's just going to be a waste of time, I guess. But at the same time, they've invested, as you mentioned, they've invested too much into it. So might as well get done with it as well. But it's just costed them too much, I think. And it
Yeah.
was not worth it.
Oh yeah, I think it's way too costly. I mean, it's that conundrum. I mean, you spent so much time on it. Do you continue to waste that time, or do you try to like finish it off or whatever? But I mean, it didn't even seem like that great of a base. It just seemed like they couldn't get the entrances that they needed. And whenever they were trying to get up, HV abusers were there to kind of cut them down. So we'll see what they can do again. I mean, 184 points. They haven't really been growing at all. And Capybara has been growing, sitting in that first place comfortably right now with 330 points.
With how good Cabrera have played so far, they can just. I think they should be able to keep their number one lead just off of PvP points, because we've seen how great they were in the attack phase as well, just off of the PvP kills. They managed to secure like 70 points in the attack phase, and that was like just in 30 minutes. So if they can get that, they can probably hit the 700 mark just off of PvP points as well, if they want to play this one safer.
Yeah, like we said, they have a big target on their back. So if they want to just try and go for those PvP points, try and defend their base, make sure no one gets in it, that could be smarter for them. But some walls going to be placed up here by Nurik. One of those players going to be shot down when he tries to take that ladder up. Looks like Nurik and the best will have a little bit of a fight. One of those players of the best will fall on the outside. Monster going to look for the rotate around to try and kill some of these players, but there are some holes inside the space. The 1v1 will go the way of Nurik, though.
Well, the base of the best has been quite demolished. The same case as HV viewers, but the DC though nowhere to be found just yet. Now on to Pancakes going up against the SAS Dads. Already massive amounts of damage being dealt towards the wall, although it's not too massive of a gap, but they're working on it slowly, and more gaps are being exposed. This space should be a prime focus for Pancake. They have been quite unsuccessful in their prior raids, just the same as Silk Road, but this might be the base which differentiates them, because the Sastats, they have been pretty decent in their PvPs, but they haven't been one of the finest ones. They've played a lot more on their timings as far as we've seen.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And I mean, Pancake, you need these points right now. I mean, down in 17th. Well, if the team's eliminated, they'll be in 15th. But still, I mean, 70 points, they really need to start putting up some pressure. And it looks like a helicopter will be landing over on the roof. It is Deposit, who we have talked about a lot, are the players that are behind Capybara, and with that helicopter, they're just gonna start blowing up things. They're gonna get this entrance that they need, and I don't know whose base this is, but it is taking some damage.
Oh, wait. Is that? Yep. Pancake is the next target for Deposit. The Deposit have been one of the most aggressive teams in this tournament so far, alongside Capybara. Balding, I guess I could have counted them earlier, but they did slow down quite a bit. The Deposit, though, they've kept up their pace. Although they didn't get as many DCs as Capybara, but they have shown an impressive pace so far into this tournament. And Pancake, they do not have a lot of presence as of now, but they are gonna just get back as soon as they realize that Deposit are going on a full-on assault on them.
Yeah, they need to get back. They need to do something because, I mean, these players are inside your base. They're going to be already putting down that C4. Those rockets are going to come out. And, I mean, it was a really nice helicopter from Deposit. I don't know if they got beds or anything else down. We'll have to see if they'll have that, like, revive tool. But now they're just, I mean, holding down this roof, putting down so much boom onto this base. See if maybe they can find an entrance for what they need, and what they ultimately want is that TC.
Well, they do want it, but they're gonna have to work for it, and the work is being put in the form of the rocket launchers, but not much progress has already been made. The Pancake, they're just waiting right under Deposit, waiting for them to enter and slowly take the PvP points as Deposit make their way to them.
Yeah, they want to kind of play that inside, kind of play what they know, but I mean, there's some good stuff being put down. Pancake, one will get downed and killed, and just a down so that revive will be able to come through, and big hole already in this base. We're going to see if they can fully take it. Pancake, it looks like all of those members have rotated back now, so they have at least their full defense ready, but I mean, this team is already in the base, and they look like they are already have blown a decent sized hole through it.
Well, they have blown it, but it seems like they're just trying to deal as much damage as they can from afar, and then hence have a lot more room to work with as soon as they drop, which is a very smart way to execute the raid. I don't think I've seen this one be played out by any other team, so I have to give mad props to Deposit for it. So we're gonna have to wait and see how this one plays out, though.
Yeah, it's a really nice strategy, and I mean they're just gonna be killing a lot of these players. We gotta revive back up, and Pancake just trying to send everybody they can up to the top, and they're just getting absolutely deleted here. So these teams, I mean, it's really looking good for not Pancake, because they are. A lot of their players are taking their deaths there, and the TC might be found soon. As Deposit are already in here, like you said, opening up that base beforehand. And if they can find it.
Now the fights have eventually commenced, and Pancake, it seems like they have lost the initial ones, but the Sasdads are getting a lot more involved into this one as well. Deposit, they're still up at the top, but they're gonna have to move fast, and they're gonna have to do it very quickly as well, because if the Sasdads, they make their way in there, I think they might just hit it right from the bottom, so that could be problematic for them, and hence could just be a waste of time for Deposit in the end. With subs, they're close by, and they're close by as well, so this fight is about to get a lot.
Yep, there are a lot of teams around, so you do have to be careful. The Sasdads are here, like you were saying, on that outside. Pancake, you got to be worried now. You got to hear all these teams around, rockets coming in, and I mean, Pancake's looking to try and maybe get some of these kills back, but Boom coming through, and really just looking for their main goal, that TC. Pancake really holding that bottom floor at the moment, but Deposit just so much better at holding the top floor and holding it really good.
Holding really good for the time being. We're gonna have to wait and see how this one goes out. The deposit finally stepping down from the rooftop, getting close and personal against the walls for the Pancake because Pancake they're on the bottom floor. They're not taking any head-to-head fights at least for the time being. Link getting a bit above, but will fall to his death as well. Pancake. I think they're just trying to defend the TC. They're probably on the same floor as the TC. I think, because of how they're just giving no heed at all to the aggression that Deposit is showing at the top.
Yeah, they'll send a few of those players up to try and deal with it, but I think it's like you were saying that maybe the TC is a little bit lower on the base because that's where they're trying to defend, and I mean that's the smartest play. It kind of may reveal where your TC is, but if you can win those fights, which they aren't, Deposit takes out 2 of those players, so Deposit is just honestly really ripping through the space right now and just doesn't seem like they are close to catching that TC.
Well, they seem close, but we've seen bases that were absolutely skulled out, and still there was no DC inside. So, God knows how long this one is gonna go on for. This could.
We'll have to see how it goes. I mean, they are they're inside for now, and we're gonna try and see if they can maybe forward and get it. But Pancake putting down an okay defense at the moment. Like you said, it might take a little bit of time for them to find this full TC, but kind of Pancake just defending this bottom level right now. You have to imagine that the TC is either in the middle or on that outside ring, but we will warp around here or just we'll just stay here because no one else is raiding. Obviously there are a limited amount of teams because a lot of the teams have been taken out, so we will stick on this one for now as Pancake try to defend this raid against 4 or 5 other teams.
Yeah, I mean, there are only 16 teams alive, and 4 of them are just in our view right now. So that's Capybara, Pancake, Subs, and that's going at it right now. But it is a bit surprising as well because we're this late in the game. You're expecting teams to just go, okay, that's one way to use the rocket launcher, absolutely, and I liked it. Non-toxic playing it smartly with the rocket launcher, but will get traded eventually though. But yeah, I would say this late in the game, you're expecting teams to just going wild and attacking as many bases as they possibly can. And there we go, 2 more raids are finally live, and this time around, it's Silk Road against Capybara. Okay, they've left. Okay, never mind. That was Deposit I was thinking of. My bad. But Capybara on to their eventual 5th victim.
Yeah, I mean it's all kind of a game of chess that like you don't want to be in certain places. Like if you can take a base while somebody else is away, then you can get like a free TC. But I mean, a lot of these teams obviously have maybe one of those players back to kind of be the communicator that if their base is getting raided, they can kind of come back. But I mean, if you're one of these teams that, you know, are on the lower part of the leaderboard and you are running out of points, you kind of need to start sending all of your resources to a base to try and get it.
Have to wait and see how this one goes. But Capybara, I think they did like calm down at least for a little while. They might have been improving their base a little bit to prepare for the latter end of the game, because we mentioned they have a target on their head right now. They have a huge bounty on them. As soon as they die, the #1 spot is open for Deposit, Subs, or Balding to take. So they might have just been improving their base, but Balding, okay, now they're the ones getting pressurized by Deposit, HP abusers, and Lika. This could be huge because Balding, they were one of the better contenders early on, but right now they seem in trouble.
Yeah, and a little bit of trouble. It looks like Deposit going to be looking to take out their bottom floor, and I mean, we kind of talked about the target on your back if you are one of these top teams, but Deposit just, I think, want to make sure either that, one, this is a very smart decision of a base they can raid, and two, that this team does not come back. Obviously, Balding being at 191 points, Deposit wants no chance that they come back to take a spot from them, and this TC could put them within 60 of Capybara, which it would still be doable in this 30 minutes we have left in the raiding phase.
Well, 31 has, as you said, 16 teams remaining in the tournament. We're still leading the charge with 110. Deposit, though, if they do manage to take, or if anyone else manages to take Balding out, that would be removing a major contestant for Deposit. So whether or not Deposit wins this fight, of course it will be. Did he die from his own C4? Oh my
Happens.
god. Oh god.
This game is funny.
Yeah, it happens, you know, some faulty wiring and stuff. But the player will die, and will like you were saying exactly. It's like if Baldwin falls, I mean, even though Deposit is not 100% within reaching distance right now of that lead, if they can get this TC, it would be good, and to eliminate any other like, competitors around you would just be really, really nice.
Well, HV abusers, they're definitely looking for some revenge because their base was like looking. That was probably one of the worst shapes I've ever seen a base be in, and they still managed to hold on. Now they're looking to do a counter attack onto Balding. So far, they haven't been much successful either, as the kills are going back and forth. Nurik now showing their face into this fight as well. Repzor just decided that jumping down from a 6-story building is a very wise idea. And he's still alive, yeah.
Yeah, she's gonna jump. I mean, too bad for that man. Not the best decision of way of travel to get to the bottom of your base. Maybe use a ladder next time. I know it's a crazy invention, but I know it's just been invented recently, but maybe ladder would be a better choice next time.
And it works. Okay, Deposit ditching their last fight, moving on to Gazoos here, but there is nice close by as well. They might not be fighting Gazoos for the time being, so Deposit might just have a one-on-one. As it does seem like that Lawrence are actually fighting someone else in their own mosh pit, but Deposit, they're taking this one at a slower pace. They have completely left out the fight against Balding and are letting HV abusers deal with it.
Yeah, they kind of left out on it, and we'll have to see what they can do. I mean, under 30 minutes now, less than a third of our rating phase to be had. So these teams, I mean, obviously, if they have not made moves in this first hour, they need to start doing something. And as the time starts to tick down, you have to start thinking about making crazier and crazier decisions. I mean, if you get eliminated going out for a raid and you're in that last place position, I mean, it doesn't really matter at this point. You really just need to go for those points. You cannot be sitting back and defending. So we'll see if any of these teams can even try and contest. I mean, Capybara, I mean, putting on an absolute showcase for us, 120 points ahead right now, sitting in that first place very comfortably.
Well, they are very comfortable because their lead is only growing. The last time I mentioned it was 110. This time around, it's 120. So even if they're just playing off of PvP points, we did mention it earlier. They can just play off of their PvP points and they will be good to go. And that's exactly what Capybara are doing, and I think that's a very smart move for them, not letting their base be vulnerable at any point if they're just holding it and improving with their resources as well.
Right, and I mean, it's super smart, like you're saying. They're just playing defense now. They don't need to make those crazy plays because they're, like you said, 120 points ahead. That is 3 TCs for someone else. And, you know, if you're thinking 3 TCs again or just raiding Capybara, I mean, if you're thinking in Capybara's mind, you're like, they want to raid us. There is a big target on our back. these 30 minutes, we can just stay, defend, get all those kills that are coming in from the PvP, get those kills from the defense points, and we'll see if they can really hold on, because there is going to be a big target on their back that if one of these teams goes and decides, oh, we can go and try and eliminate Capybara, then their whole scoreline could be removed.
Yeah, one thing that I found interested in this match so far is that in the final moments, teams are not really committing to any
Yeah.
bases in order to get their DC. They're just putting a fight in. If they can get through easily, they attack it. But if they can, they just leave it to go for another. That's what we saw from Deposit. That's what we saw from the SAS Dads as well. And that's what Silk Road have been doing continuously ever since the game started, and that's a major reason for their loss. So I think teams need to commit a bit more. Even though it's the final few minutes, you're probably gonna have your best shot at getting it easy if you commit to it.
Right. You really need to commit to it. And I mean, I think it's kind of like we talked about that. A lot of these teams are kind of scared to like lose all their points and drop out. But I mean, if you're going for some sort of top 5, you need to kind of commit to a fight, go for it, and kind of put a lot of your resources out towards it, or it's just going to be pretty much sitting there for 25 minutes just doing PvP. And I mean, these teams are running out of time, as just time is their biggest, most valuable thing right now.
Yeah, and I think we've finally reached the point where we can call this game in its end game. And right now, this is the moment where you start to, if your deposit subs and balding, you start to put your focus onto Capybara. They're your definite target because you've clearly failed to get the amount of TCs required to match up with them. So right now, you're gonna try to get the TC off of Capybara, and those points, the TC points, are gonna be the one that put you in the lead against the others. So if it's going to be a double win for you if you can take Capybara down. 25 minutes, there's nothing else much I believe those teams can do either way.
Yeah, that has to be a choice. I mean, it's a hard choice because we have seen how devastating Capybara can be, and there you go. HV abusers will actually be eliminated by Santa. We saw them taking that helicopter over, and they'll actually get a little bit of jump in their points, jumping them up to kind of that contention range again, along with deposit subs and balding. Now Santa will be holding down that 5th place position with 209 points, but again, a lot of these teams, like you were saying, they need to go after Capybara. They will get those 40 points plus get to take out one of their top competitors, and already we see it here. I think they heard us the psychic ability coming through again. Subs are here and balding is also here. So see how much the tortilla chips can protect them on this one.
Oh, well, the tortilla chips have been very crunchy against those rocket launchers, but eventually they do crack. And right now they definitely are cracking against those rocket launchers from balding. On the other end, subs are involved as well. Capybara, they have some presence, but they're trying to hold on. Negata up top once again. Negata is always the player that's lurking in those awkward angles where there's just no one else from Capybara. But now finally the respawns are coming in, the defense phase begins, and I think we can officially say now that this is the proper end game of this game, because if they can hold on Capybara, they will be the definite winners. If they cannot, we're gonna have to wait and find out who takes the DC and some PvP points along that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it is definitely this end game, and holding on is the correct word for this. I mean, that is all that Capybara can do right now. I mean, 2 teams on their side, 1 team attacking them from each, and rockets just raining down from above. We'll see what they can do. They've been good in PvP all day, but if they can hold this down, if they can get those kills, I mean, it could be absolutely huge, but they have to hold for 22 minutes.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that Deposit is the only team that's not here from among the top 4 that's not Capybara. Balding and subs, they have realized that they're in a desperate spot right here. Deposit, though, I think they're just relying on the other teams to take Capybara out, and while they focus on another DC to potentially gain their lead, which could potentially work out, but it's still such a massive gamble that you have to rely on other teams to be successful at the raiding Capybara.
Yeah, it's a big gamble, but like you said, it could work out. So if one of these teams does take out Capybara, and then they, while they're doing that, kind of take out someone else or take out one of
There's
these
deposit
teams, even
finally.
out one of those players looking like to get in that wall. And I think all these three teams, it's exactly like we talked about, they really need to push forward and try and take out Capybara. 110 points ahead. I don't think you're catching up from that, but for Capybara, I mean, you gotta start pushing out, start trying to push back on these raids. But I mean, three teams pushing is just so hard to defend.
Yeah, and I believe it will become harder to defend as the rain of rocket continues, because from either end, that is, they can't be fast enough to repair both of the sides of the walls simultaneously as well. So they're just gonna have to take this one out PvP. Finally, we see two of the players of Capybara starting to push out, but they have to deal with 5 of Balding. The first one of Capybara will fall, and the second follows. The first phase of defense has failed, and hence Balding is going to start to get close. One pair of deposits showing his face as well. Grubor trying to hold on by all on his own. Bon Aqua falls as well with Capybara. They're still not allowing anyone within the premises of the base just yet.
Yeah, the Rockets will be able to hit, but it seems like they are just holding down this compound pretty well. Burger going to be the other player inside, as it looks like a couple of these players are Balding will try and get inside this compound here. Burger will actually die, so Capybara in a dangerous position now as they really need to defend, and there you go. Subs. They find it, and Capybara will be eliminated. Wow.
That's a massive one. I didn't expect their base to go down this early, because we talked about it. They were pretty impressive in PvPs, but I guess yeah, 3 teams are just quite a bit too much to deal with, and hence the fight for the number 1 spot gets initiated once more. Deposit, they're only 10 away from subs. Subs managed to get that TC, and Deposit, they better have made some progress over towards another base, because otherwise they're heavily relying on subs not getting an efficient amount of PvP points, and they would have to do that themselves.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks to see Capybara go. They were playing so good all day, but I think those teams really decided. We talked about if you are way too aggressive, it puts a huge target on your back. Those 3 teams, they do make ultimately the right decision to go and try and take out Capybara. But it is like you said, it's going to be a tight race now. Sub's going to be holding about a 10-point lead over Deposit, and I think this one is going to come down to the wire. Balding and Santa now are suddenly still in it.
Out Leka and Santa going at it alongside Pancake in who are trying to push the space as well. There's a player coming in from a helicopter, but there are turrets that are designed to back off the helicopter. Well, it did get quite a lot of damage, but didn't get quite destroyed just yet. Santa holding on though, at least for the time being. Pancake getting closer as well. Lika, their players are continuously falling, but they're still not just yet. But realistically, they are close to the 200-point mark, but I just don't think that they have enough time to put themselves on the leaderboard in the number 1 or even the top 3 situation at this point. They could if they manage to get 1 or 2 DCs, but they're still going to be in a race in a PvP battle.
Yeah, I think it's hard for any team outside of the top 10 at the moment. I think at this point, I mean, obviously we do these base invaders tournaments every week, so now I think it's just practice, getting a little bit more practice, raiding those bases, just kind of sending it to someone else, maybe going for one of those top teams to try and shake it up and maybe get some points. But it's exactly like you said, those teams outside of the top 10 and even those teams outside of the top 5 are going to have trouble. I mean, approaching 15 minutes left, not too much time left for these teams to make a move.
Totally agreed, but what I'm interested in, I'm really wondering though, what is going on in Deposit's head, because it seems like they aren't engaging in too many PvP fights. Even if they aren't winning many of them. They've only had 1 point range in like the past 2 minutes, so I'm not sure what their plan is to overthrow Sub's rule on the number 1 spot, but they better think fast, because As you said, we're approaching the 15-minute mark, and that can at max be enough for one, or if you're very much legendary, 2 raids.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it's at this point, like, if you're one of those teams, like, you have to think about subs. I mean, do you sit back? Because, like, you are that 10 points ahead, but if Deposit do take a really good PvP fight, if they take one more TC, they could jump ahead of you. So, I don't know what the decision is. I mean, it has to be a tough one. If you send people out, I mean, you obviously leave yourself at risk, and we saw what happened to Capybara when they were the #1 team and kind of sent their people out. So, it's honestly a big decision for subs and what they do if they just kind of sit back and defend what they will decide to do. But it looks like one of the players is gonna pop on here looking down, shooting around.
Now, Deposit, though, they're finally starting to seem a bit more active. They've gotten four more kills in their favor in the past minute, so they're getting a bit more aggressive. Subs, though, they're trying to keep up with it, but the deficit has gone down to only 9 points. And I think they're a bit too far out to be counted in the top 1 competition unless they manage to get AC, but to be very honest, getting TCs in the final 15 minutes is going to be pretty hard unless you have already developed some real estate in someone's base.
Could be hard. I think Santa and Balding now need to kind of do the same thing that they did to Capybara. If they want to have a chance, they really need to eliminate subs and get themselves that 40 points. Because either of them, if they eliminate subs, then they would jump into that first place spot and be that team. So I think that first place position, because Capybara is out, is held by subs. They have a big target on their back, even though it is in this 15. Like you said, it is going to be hard to defend. They most likely are just sitting back, but talking about Deposit, I mean, they have now closed the gap to 6, so I think it's going to be very, very close.
Yeah, and like, since the battle has gone down to PvPs, it's just a sort of a gamble because who knows how many engagements you get and how many you win out of those. So, but Deposit, they're starting to push this space out as well. There is 3 players of Deposit looking around, and since the space has already been damaged quite a lot, and the rockets still seem to pour, this might just be it for Deposit if they manage to get the TC.
This TC would be huge. It would be very, very big. And I mean, subs have been kind of sitting back too. So if you're Deposit, I mean, only a 5-point spread right now between them and first. So if they could get this, I mean, it would be huge. We talked about how hard it is to get TCs in that final 15 minutes, and especially if you are waiting till the final 5 or 10 minutes when another team has already passed you, it is going to be rough.
Very rough indeed. Gizus and Lawrence still though going at it. Deposit, it seems like they haven't fully committed to it, but a problem that we did mention earlier on as well, if you want to commit to it, I think if you're Deposit, you just full sail this base right now, because at the very least you're still going to get those PvP points, and those should be enough to put you through subs and get you the #1 spot, even if you don't get the TC.
Yeah, I mean, PvP points are going to be huge. And we talk about how close the point margin is right now for these two teams, and I think being aggressive here will definitely help them out. And they really need to start doing something, though. They cannot sit back. 13 minutes and 30 seconds left here. Time is dwindling down, which is their most valuable resource here today. And I mean, subs are still going to hold a 7-point lead, but time is ticking down.
13 minutes is all that remains. These are just the final few moments, and most of these fights at this point are trying to just like not matter at all unless it involves the top 5 teams, and that too, actually the top 4, because Dads, they're on a 200-point mark. Even if they get to TC, they're still quite a bit far from anything. So it's all down to subs, Deposit, Santa, and Balding to take the #1 spot. Subs and Deposit going at it in the PvP battles. Santa and Balding, they are desperate for a TC right now.
Right. I think it is, like you're saying, anybody out of that top 4 position right now, it's kind of looking not in the best. And I mean, if you are Dads, you have to get 2 TCs to kind of catch up to that. And Balding and Santa, they have kind of, it seemed like they have been a little bit stagnant here, not really looking for anything else. But I mean, Deposit, their kills will slow down. The margin will be increased back to 8, as Subs look like they are pushing out here to try and get some of these kills on the field here.
Well, Subs, they're trying as much as they possibly can. They're widespread out. I don't think I've seen like more than 2 players of Subs playing together at this moment. So I guess it could work out, but you could just potentially go all out together in a 5-on-5 battle, or like as a team together and try to get trades. That is still going to give you kills, but right now they're separated. They're just getting picked off one by one. And at the same time, Deposit, they have slowed down as well, so that's maybe some luck going their way. The deficit still lurking around. Actually, it has increased 9 points, so Subs starting to pick up the pace once again. And Deposit, oh,
Wow.
Deposit, there.
So this is
They're in the first
Deposit's
one.
base, and Balding really want to make this move. I mean, they would need this TC and more. I would think you would have wanted to raid Subs, but here they are. Balding, I mean, 10, 11 minutes left. They really want to make this play, and they're getting some kills on the outside, which will help them. So, I mean, Deposit, you have to make a decision now. Do you kind of come back and defend this base, or do you keep going out for those kills and trust your base to hold for these last 10 minutes?
I mean, if you're Deposit, I think the call should be just come back and defend, because at this while you're going to be defending the base, you're still gonna get those PvP points, and that's exactly what we have been talking about for the past 10 minutes or so at this point. That's all that matters between Deposits and Subs. That's all the margin that there is between them.
Yep, it's gonna be a very small margin, 8 points still, and I mean they can get some defense points too if Baltic makes a pretty decent effort here and they do defend it. They could get some of those extra base points there, but 9 points now, still the spread between first and second. Santa and Balding pretty much need a TC here as we approach just 10 minutes left. Balding is gonna get a trade, one of their members will go down, but 2 of the members of Deposit will go down, so still just pretty much a firefight, no real entrance into the base just yet, except for this little side door.
Well, an entrance is an entrance, so they're gonna try to make some progress through that. But Deposit, they're trying to hit them from behind as one player falls right from the top. It'll deal quite a lot of fall damage, but still managing to stay alive for the time being. Never mind, I jinxed it. And oh my god! Deposit have been eliminated by Balding, and that puts Balding in the same exact spot where Deposit was just 10 seconds ago. They're in a race with Subs now.
Yeah, I'm just absolutely speechless. They pull it off, and I mean, it's gonna be a little bit bigger of a margin, but we talked how big the target can be on your back when you are in those top positions, and Balding just take advantage of it, leaving Santa now in the dust. Now it just seems like a race between Subs and Balding, who, I mean, 13 points is still a decent amount of PvP points to separate the two, and Santa, I mean, you got to go for something now if you are going to try and aim for one of those spots.
That also puts Subs in a much more of a comfortable position, because Deposit was a lot more was somewhat closer than what Balding is to Subs right now, and Subs at the same time, while Deposit and Balding were fighting, they continued to grow their lead, and now the deficit between Balding and Subs has actually grown up to 15 points. So with 8 seconds to go, unless Balding try to make a move on another TC, or maybe even Subs TC, I think we might just call it the game for Subs, because the Balding, they have not been too impressive in terms of PvP. They just got the right placement for the TC against Deposit.
Yeah, they kind of found that lucky TC, and we've talked about it takes a long time to get those raids off, and if you're Balding, I think really that is the only play. Try and engage on Subs. They do have that big target on their back. You have the possibility to engage on them, eliminate them, and take their TC. I mean, but the same is also said for Santa. If you can take out Subs, you will jump yourselves into that #1 spot. So I think both these teams really just need to drop everything they're doing and kind of work together on taking out Subs.
7 minutes to go. We did see Capybara getting eliminated in just 5 minutes when two teams pushed them. That could potentially be the same case for subs, but I doubt that anyone except Balding might be too much interested in it. Maybe Santa, because considering the fact that they are at 268 points, if they manage to get the TC of subs, they will be at the #1 spot. But it just doesn't seem like no, anyone's hitting subs Palace right now, because they're all just clicking around trying to get PvP points out here.
Yeah, they're trying to just get those extra PvP points, and the lead is going to increase a lot. I mean, this team they put themselves so far ahead, and player Choppa going to go down in the field as driving the best. I mean, we talked about the best a little bit, kind of a lackluster performance today. 185 points. They might not have competed up to what they wanted to, but Subs honestly just holding it down right now, and I think if you're Balding or Santa, you just have to go for that base. I think that is the only real thing you can do right now. Six minutes.
6 minutes to go. There's nothing much, I believe, that can be done, because subs they're getting kills consistently, and they're doing it in a very fast manner as well. We've grown up to 20 points, and it still goes ahead with Whitex being on the lead as he goes on an 8 kill streak, and will try to continue that onto bigger numbers. But 5 minutes. I think these are the moments where we start to possibly call the game, unless something miraculous happens, which I'm not sure is Balding capable of, to be very honest with you.
Yeah, I don't think it is. I think it's pretty much already set and done unless something happens to subs here, and the subs have been playing really good all day. They kind of played a little bit under the radar, if you ask me, kind of waiting to strike at the perfect moment, taking out that first place position and then jumping themselves up into the championship spot right now. But looks like Lika going to be inside this base. It looks like Santa is in here, so instead of trying to take out subs, they are looking for another base. But even if they take a TC, they'll still be behind a couple of points.
Yeah, but that will put them very close to them. But yeah, as you said, subs, they just sort of sneaked into the #1 spot, because before Capybara got eliminated, I don't think anyone saw the subs coming into the #1 spot. We were expecting Balding or Deposit to be the ones that actually managed to do that, but both Deposit and Capybara have been eliminated. Balding, they did put up a very valiant effort to take that spot, but subs, they just outclassed everyone, outsmarted everyone completely as well. And when it mattered the most, they showed up against Capybara and took down their DC.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy that like subs, they played actually really well, and I mean their kill lead just increases and increases. Just 3.5 minutes left here, and I think unless, like we said, unless something crazy happens to subs, nothing really matters anymore. Even if Santa gets this TC anymore, the kill counters from subs have just been so huge to create that difference in points that I think it's going to subs here.
Yeah, I must agree, because now the point differential is about 28 at this point, which is pretty massive, because considering the fact that the subs had really slowed down in the 10 minutes. Right now they're just on a spree. White was on a 10 streak all on his own. Balding, they are getting kills, but it just looks that it might be a bit too slow. And subs base, it is in pretty good form as well. I don't think we saw anyone rating that either. So the game, it seems like it's pretty much done and dusted. Everyone's just playing for fancy points to get as high rank as they possibly can. Subs, they are likely gonna be holding on to that #1 spot.
Yeah, they're pretty much just holding on strong. I mean, Balding trying to do as much as they can. They'll cut the lead down to 25, but I mean that's still 25 kills that you have to get in 3 minutes, and that is pretty much all that is left. 2.5 actually. just running out of time. So I think subs, they did a really good job today so far. And I mean, as long as they can just hold on for these final 2 minutes,
Oh,
they should be able to take it home.
that's Balding's base. That is
Oh,
Balding's base. So if that gets taken out, subs, they are definitely going to be crowned the winners. So
yeah.
Balding, they're just hoping that nobody finds the DC in the last 2 minutes, while most of their players still look around trying to get those PvP points because there's only one player to defend the base right now.
Yep, they only send one player back, and I think that's what honestly you have to do. Like, you can't worry about your own base, as the one player will be better though in that firefight. So I think they're gonna send a couple more people back. But I mean, at this point, you need kills, and kills are not gonna come from this raid. It seems like, because it was only one player. They send three back to take care of it, and I think that's, I mean, with them going back, I mean, they're going to lose out on some kill points. The lead will be kind of cut down just a little bit down to 23, but I mean, they only have 1 minute left. That's not a lot of time.
I mean, we said it, only a miracle could take subs out at this point, and I do not think a
Right.
miracle is happening in the last 60 seconds.
Yeah. I think it's going to be pretty much over. I mean, Capybara played really well, but again, subs, they just kind of flew under the radar until they found the perfect moment to strike. And up 20 points now, heading into this final 45 seconds. Really just nothing, like you said, just kind of need a miracle or something else for some of these other teams. But playing for some pride now, playing for some of these other places. They still put out a good effort in Santa too, but in 20 seconds now, it is looking grim.
Absolutely is. Santa, the fourth team, and if you include Capybara, they hit the 400-point mark, but the 300-point mark, excuse me, no one has been able to hit the 400 mark. But the final 5 seconds, three, two, one, and subs are your EU 5v5 winners of the day.
That's a pretty good game from subs. We've been talking about them at the end a lot there. That I mean, they just played a really good game there. That was awesome. I mean, you can see the absolute number of kills there, 191 kills, absolutely insane. Put a lot of pressure down. I mean, just very good job by them. They played it smart. They didn't play super aggressive in the beginning, but picked up that aggression in the mid to late game.
Yeah, they had like about 60 to 70 PvP points alone in the end phase of the game to keep them at the number 1 spot and ensure that Balding and Deposit couldn't catch up early on as well. So really props to them. They weren't very impressive in the PvP era earlier on. They were losing most of their fights, but when it mattered the most, they showed up by taking Capybara's DC, and afterwards they held on to it like a proper champion, and they definitely deserved the number 1 spot today.
Yeah, they definitely deserve it. Balding actually got close, so Balding does end with 321. They must have got some defense points added in there at the end. And I mean, we can take a look at Balding's stats. They had more kills than subs, but just didn't get as many raids completed.
Yeah, Santa, also a team that was somewhat under the radar, the similar to subs, but they just didn't show up as early as they would have liked. And perhaps if they were involved against some group raids, maybe they could have clutched it in, but sadly they didn't. But I think that is it for us today on the 5v5 EU battle.
Yeah, I mean, raid defense is huge there for Santa. Our top three again, subs gonna take that first place spot. They will take home the win here today. Balding second, Santa third, Sastads end up in fourth, and Jesus in fifth.
And I think with that, we call it a night for the EU server. Of course, we are going to have our NA55 Basin Raiders coming up later tonight as well. So make sure you tune in for that as well. Those are going to have some banger teams as well. And I'm hoping for such close matchup between multiple teams again. So I'm definitely going to tune in for that. Llama, I'm pretty sure we're going to be both watching it. So yeah. I'll be waiting for them.
It'll be a fantastic match for NA. But it has been a fantastic day of Rustoria Base Invaders. Like you said, again, a huge congratulations to subs. Also like to thank all the people behind the scenes, the production that are running this thing, admins that are counting up scores and doing all of that. Also like to appreciate all the people that came out to watch today, all the people in Twitch chat. You all are amazing. But I would like to thank you all all for watching from me and Inflict here. We will see you next time.